multiple deployments overseas and rescue missions here in New Hampshire. He has never missed a deployment. He's never missed a welcome home ceremony. He has been our ambassador for building a strong military and civilian community. He is also the guy who came to many of us about 5 or 6 years ago and said, we need a Veterans Court in New Hampshire. General Reddel is resigning as Adjutant General later this month. So, I'm going to say this without crying, General Reddel. So it is with heartfelt gratitude that I introduce this man one more time to our New Hampshire military and civilian community. Please join me in welcoming Major General Jo Moncher to the New Hampshire National Guard.
Good evening, and thanks for being here. How many veterans are actually here? Nice. Although you're the disciples, you're the ones that I don't need here. What I really need is Fort New Hampshire to be here. And that's where I really want to start. Ted Kerr started this. He was one of our colonels on the Army side, and then General Clark picked it up, and then I kind of expanded a little bit more. And I truly believe in it, and this state is lucky to have Fort New Hampshire. It really is. But it takes everybody in this room to make it happen. So give yourself a round of applause. But it can't stop with the people that are just in this room. Remember, Fort New Hampshire is not to give our veterans something on a silver platter. It's really to help them, teach them to fish, make sure that they can get through those invisible wounds of war that kind of tug at them constantly. And so that's really why I asked Jo to go after this. Being one of 54 Adjutant Generals, 50 states, 3 territories in the district, I get to compare New Hampshire against the other 53. What are we doing good? What could we be doing better? Fortunately, the tag from Illinois, his wife was a senior judge in Illinois and started the veterans track there. I got a lot of discussions with her. How'd you do this? How'd you make it work? They pointed me back to Buffalo, where the first Veterans Court started. And then once I got all my data, if everybody knows me, I love data, I went to Jo and said, okay, we've got a family court, we've got a drug court, why not a Veterans Court? Why is it that our jails are becoming basically places to put people who have behavioral health problems? Why aren't we taking care of that before they get to jail? Why aren't we asking the question, have you or anyone else in your family served in the military for anything we do in this state, including an officer pulling somebody over? Because we've seen it over and over again when folks come back from being deployed, and oh, by the way, they can be back home in their living room in less than 24 hours off the battlefront. We wonder why they start doing this risky behavior. Going down the highway at 100 miles an hour, jumping off water towers, you name it, we've seen it. Because they're looking for that adrenaline high that they've been on every day since they've been deployed. Because if they weren't on that adrenaline high, then something bad would happen. We also know from one of our good doctors at the VA, he talks about how the senses kick into high gear as our members are deployed. And how when they come back into civilian life, that doesn't work very well. They build up that emotional wall, and then the kids and the wife or the husband want to give them a hug, and they're just like, whoa, I can't do this. That's what our folks go through. Not all of them, some of them. And we need to ask the question, why? So why the behavior? And Judge Leary, thank you. Thank you for bringing the court system in and asking the why question. It's not a big deal. All we want to do is ask the why question, figure out why they're doing that type of behavior, correct it, and get them back into society and get them the help that they need. But it takes Fort New Hampshire to make that work. It's not just the court system, because as soon as they're out of the court system, they're going to need help. Their families are going to need help. And that's where you come in. So I'm really happy that you did this. I'm hoping that because it's a film, I don't think there are that many documentaries on this at all, but that it will go outside Fort New Hampshire and into other states so they can look at it as an option. You know, we have our care coordination program that started with Easter Seals and now is with other folks, but Easter Seals is still involved, but we're the only ones really in the nation like it. So there are a lot of things that we have done right, and there's a lot of things that we have to get better at. But it's only going to happen with you all. So how many folks are here from the Justice Involved Task Force? Good. Thank these folks. So as Jo was looking at how do we go down this road, she talked to a lot of folks and found out, hey, we can go to Washington, D.C. on a field trip. And that's where it all started. And who went to Washington, D.C. the first year? Good. So if you didn't see, there were only about 5 hands that went up. Those were the 5 individuals, well, there were more, but that are here tonight that made that first step to go down to Washington, to get educated, ask a lot of questions, and then finally come home and start this program. But it still wouldn't have happened unless Jo was there, hounding everybody, in your face, phone calls. So with that, on behalf of Fort New Hampshire, the National Guard, and I believe all the veterans here, thanks. So yes, it gets a little emotional for me. the bottom line for me is the less than 1%. It's down to 0.5%, and actually less than that. It's 0.3% wear this uniform today. It's about 0.8% total in the military, but that's what civilians also. If we don't take care of them and their families, why would anybody want to wear this uniform? They don't do it for themselves. And my Guard members don't do it for themselves. They do it for the state of New Hampshire and the nation. Because they're willing to write that check, up to including their lives. So thank you all for being here. Are you going to play the film first? You're going to do Judge